Hey, so hi everybody. Welcome to the session. Good evening and good morning to everybody joining in from different parts of the world. Uh, I think thanks to our host. So, as I've already been introduced, my name is Arvind, and I am a project practitioner. I've been in the industry for about 23 years, and well, this has been an amazing journey. It doesn't look like it's going to end anytime soon. So I'm not somebody who got retired and started off with offering trainings and sessions like those, but I am one of you. So I am actively involved in managing projects at a global level. Um, so this is a small a snapshot of my profile. I think you may have probably gone through this already, but without spending too much time over here, I think we'll come down to the core subject, the core topic around today's session, and that is about talking about the challenges associated with PMP examination. There are a lot of issues and a lot of challenges that people often come up with, and of course we decided to come up with a session in which we can probably help some of you to overcome the fear of appearing for the PMP and preparing for the PMP session. Yeah. So before we jump any further, just to make sure that we are all on the same page, let's talk a little bit about what is the PMP examination all about, right? So as many of you already may be aware, PMP examination or PMP certification, these credentials are considered as the gold standard in project management, which is offered by PMI, Project Management Institute, right? And this is against some myths that this could be only related with information technology or IT industry or software development. It's not really like that. It's a globally recognized certificate, and this spans across industries and is very much in demand. And I think many of you may have already be aware of these facts. Yeah. So getting PMP as a credential, it essentially you know, endorses you that you know what you're doing, right? That the individual who has received the PMP certificate has been tested, has been tried, and is a subject matter expert, right? And that is exactly what it endorses. So holds great value, and of course, it when it comes to preparation, it kind of spans through various aspects of project management that one need to be familiar with, need to build an expertise in, and then take up the examination, right? So as we talk about the examination, well, the examination consists of 180 questions, which are to be answered in about 230 minutes. And this entire curriculum is around these three domains that you see in this triangular picture. This is known as the talent triangle, published by PMI. So when it comes to uh, ensuring effective project management, a project manager needs to build an expertise in these three domains. So ways of working represents how well a project manager is aware about building systems and structures in their project. So it's more of the process related knowledge that ways of working talks about. Yeah. Beyond that, uh, beyond the structures, beyond the processes, the other important aspect that one needs to be very much familiar and expert in is the power skills. And power skills are all about people skills. Yeah, it's all about a combination of leadership skills, interpersonal skills, communication skills, applying emotional intelligence, and skills like those. And then comes the third one, that is the business acumen. And business acumen is all about the domain level knowledge, where as a project manager, you might be aware of your industry, you must be aware of how your organization works. It should be aware of how different support teams work and how the project is being supported by the organization and what value and benefits are to be delivered through the project. for the organization. So all of these elements come under business environment or business acumen domain. So if you take a close look at this talent triangle, it represents all the talent or the abilities that the project managers needs to build in order to manage their projects successfully. It represents those competencies. So this is also something that reflects on the PMP examination. So you will see that about 42% of the questions that appear in the PMP examination come from people domain. About 50% of the questions come from process side or process domain. And remaining 8% of questions would test your understanding and knowledge about business environment, right? So this is the overall setup and overall background about the talent triangle and how the examination is being set. Now, beyond that, if you actually look into the format of the examination, like I mentioned earlier, about 180 questions is what you get to see. Almost, or rather, maximum of these questions are multiple choice questions. Yeah, and these are all about real life scenarios. So PMP examination, one of the things that I often talk about in my training sessions is that this examination is not an examination of a book, which means that you cannot possibly memorize literature, you cannot possibly memorize terminologies and jargons and hope to pass the PMP exam. Unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. So most questions are related with real life scenarios. And, as you sit for the examination, you come across questions scenario by scenario. So about 180 questions is what you get to see in there. And you need to complete all of these in 230 minutes. So if you do a little mathematics, you get slightly more than a minute to go through the scenario, understand what the question is asking, and then provide a solution. Beyond that, you are entitled for 2 optional breaks, about 10 minutes each. And yeah, so that's something that's part of the online proctored examination. Beyond that, you can also take the examination by visiting a Prometric center. So whether you decide to take the examination online or by visiting a Prometric center, either ways, a date and time has to be booked in advance. Yeah. So like I said, most of the questions are scenario-based questions, multiple choice questions. And then there are a few questions that are all about, matching match the following, fill in the blanks, or hotspot type of questions. So all in all, it's a combination. It's a combination of questions that not only assess your knowledge about project management, but also analyzes or assesses your analytical abilities. And I think that's the most important part and the most valuable part of PMP examination. So which is why this is not an examination of a book. Yeah. Now, having said that, well, when you interact with a lot of folks out there, they come up with different kind of challenges that they've been facing or they have faced as it came to preparing for the PMP examination, right? So this could be considered as an extensive list, something that I kind of populated over a period of time, but not an exclusive one, of course, right? If we have anybody in the audience who has been struggling with keeping up with their preparation for the PMP examination, and if the challenge that you have come across is not listed here, please feel free to add that on the chat box, right? And we can definitely talk about it, right? So most common challenges that we get to see here could be related with extensive syllabus, right? Now, examination covers different processes that are associated with predictive life cycle, and of course, different ways of working associated with agile and hybrid life cycle. So the syllabus is extensive, with detailed concepts, different type of tools and techniques to be used. And therefore, some people kind of find it very tiring to go through all that extensive material, right? Sometimes it becomes challenge to manage your time balancing your work life and personal life, and then taking out time to study. Well, in many cases, that is very difficult. So, most of the times people are they struggle to dedicate hours for preparation. Then we can also consider understanding or lack of understanding of PMI terminologies or concepts, like the framework and the language that PMI use sometimes may differ from what you have experienced in your own project management practice, right? Some people might struggle to kind of understand the terms, processes, or inputs, tools, techniques. They might feel that it's to be memorized. Well, yeah. So again, that could be one of the other pain areas. And then, of course, application of agile and hybrid methods. So this new PMP examination that was updated in January 2021, it includes the questions related with agile and hybrid project management approaches. In fact, there's 50% weightage given to agile and hybrid approaches as compared to predictive methods. So many candidates with traditional project management experience struggle to grasp the cultural shift, the principles that Agile brings in, right? So that could be a gap in the experience as well. Similarly, something very much relevant to that could be things related with memorization versus, how to apply. So, like I said, it's not an examination of, a lot of people feel that memorizing things could help them pass the examination, but that's not entirely true, right? It's more about application of what you're learning during your training and practicing it, applying that knowledge either through mock tests or in your uh, actual PMP preparation or actual project management, right? So the examination is scenario based. It requires critical thinking rather than just rote memorization. Yeah. So understanding the context and selecting the best response is crucial in the PMP examination. Then there could be uh, pressure because of the mock tests and the overall examination. I mean, yes, it's stressful. Full length mock tests can be exhausting and leading to mental fatigue. Many candidates score poorly in mock tests in the initial days, and which is, by the way, normal. Yeah, but that's where it starts causing them like self-doubt and anxiety, and that's where things kind of take an ugly turn. So this has been one of the areas in which we counsel the candidates a lot. Yeah. Then there could be complexities associated with the way in questions are formatted. So questions often have multiple correct answers, or at least they look like correct answers, but the question may really ask you to pick the best choice. So multiple choice, matching, fill in the blanks questions, they all add different levels of complexity, right? One of the other areas that, of course, cannot be overlooked, that kind of adds to the list of challenges, is fulfilling the exam prerequisites. Now, PMP examination is not meant for freshers, and based on your academic qualification, you are required to have a certain level of work experience in managing and leading project work. This could range from anywhere between 3 to 5, again, depending on your academic. So meeting that eligibility criteria, experience hours or training can be a little hurdle for some people, given the time crunch or schedule constraints that they have. So application process itself can be sometimes confusing and time consuming, and that's where I spend a lot of time working with people to review their applications and correcting and re-articulating things, just to be sure that we are presenting the right thing. Yeah. Then, of course, handling exam anxiety. Fear of failure or scoring below the passing marks, that really adds a lot of stress, right? Setting for a 230-minute long exam, it does require focus and, of course, mental stamina. Sometimes cost of certification could be a challenge, right? I mean, it is, let's get real, PMP examination is expensive, and well, some candidates may struggle with justifying the investment. But then, of course, it is worth it. It is worth every penny. Yeah. And that's coming in from my first-hand experience, right? Then, of course, lack of consistency in the study plan. That, I mean, many candidates might start strong, but then over a period of time, they lose motivation. Life takes over. So, inconsistency in your study schedule could lead to poor progress or poor retention. And then, of course, choosing the right study material could also be confusing and challenging for most people. Well, thankfully, upgrad has all of that sorted out. But then when you look into the material, if you put a single Google search, a simple Google search, you will see there are a lot of PMP books, there are a lot of online courses, there are many simulators which vary in quality. Yeah. So candidates often get very confused about which resources are best and which are the ones that are most effective. Um, Finally, last but not the least, of course, is real world versus PMI standards confusion. So professionals with years of project experience may struggle with the standardized approach, you know, because of the difference between practical experience and PMI's methodology or the code of conduct. Well, many a times in our real work experience, we may end up taking decisions that may not be based out of best practices, right? And PMI examination is all about best practices in project management, abiding by the code of ethics. And sometimes with the gap in understanding or gap between what we have experienced in real life versus what we are going through or learning in the training can create a challenge or confusion among the candidates. So again, friends, these are some of the challenges that we were able to brainstorm and kind of map out based on our interaction with hundreds and thousands of PMP students. But the good news is that there is a way out. There has been ways to overcome these barriers, and that is exactly what we are going to talk about in our next slide. Yeah. So how to overcome these challenges? Yeah. How to effectively prepare? Well, there are some proven key strategies around it. Yeah. So to overcome those challenges in preparing for your PMP exam, you need a structured approach, an organized approach. Yeah. And that could include organizing your study plan in order to tackle the extensive syllabus, like break it down further. Yeah. Study one area, one knowledge area, or one process at a time, right? So staying clear or following a roadmap, like using study plan that covers all the topics in a very systematic manner, in a very logical, and of course using mind maps or flashcards or summary notes or the notes that you end up making during the training will come in absolutely handy. Yeah. Now, beyond that, you can also go back and refer to the recordings, the recorded sessions, and of course, there are various other help or other different ways in which help is provided. The other important tip is to manage your time effectively. So time management is very, very important. Uh, set up a schedule in a disciplined manner. Ideally, should be allocating about 2 to 3 hours daily, or about 14 to 15 hours weekly. But then, trying to drop a big change in your existing busy schedule may not be the right thing to do. So the best way is start off small. If you can spare like 15 minutes learning something, start doing that in a disciplined manner, right? And as you get, as you get, as your schedule gets adjusted to those 15 minutes, kind of increase the intensity a little bit, right? Start making it like 20 minutes, 25 minutes, 30 minutes. So spend some time in upskilling yourself. I think that's the most important thing. And the intention needs to come. Yeah. I mean, there's no alternate to that, right? So spend some time, and I think that becomes easier. Um, One of the things that I often kind of recommend some of our candidates is to use a Pomodoro technique. It's a very interesting way of going about it. Like you study in a focus session for about 50 minutes and then take 10 minutes break. Yeah. Try another 50 minutes and then take another 10 minutes break. So, this way or any other way that works for you, that helps you stay focused, is it should be adopted. Yeah. And then of course focus on the topics where you're struggling the most. So discover what are the areas where you fall weak. Yeah. If it's about practical application of something, or the practical application of the knowledge that you've acquired, again, identify those gaps, work on bridging those gaps. Work with your trainer, work with your knowledge counselor, and uh, be transparent. Yeah. Then, of course, understanding the PMI terminology and concepts. Well, for that, you can refer to the PMBOK or the Agile Practice Guide. Again, read with a focus on those key terms. Um, Maintain a list of important PMI terms, important definitions that might be new to you, right? Discuss these concepts with your peers. Of course, that's going to help you stay organized and improve your understanding. Yeah, it also enables you to grow your network, by the way. Yeah. Then of course, mastering your agile and hybrid methodologies. Well, learn agile from real examples, like study agile frameworks like Scrum. What is Scrum all about, right? Go through an overview of Kanban. Learn about SAFe, learn about DSDM, right? And this may not necessarily be a paid course that you need to take. I mean, there's so much resourcing available out there. In fact, the material that you get includes all of these things. So whether you would choose to go in depth further into it, but again, the idea is to learn from real examples. And of course, nothing better than practicing mock tests. Yeah. So PMP now has a high focus on agile and hybrid questions. So always keep that in mind. Yeah. In fact, in my personal opinion, introduction of agile and hybrid questions in the PMP examination has somewhat mellowed down the difficulty level of the PMP examination. So that's a very good news. Yeah. Well, moreover, uh, practice what you're learning. So move away from memorizing to application, right? You need to understand why behind each process. That's why, what is the rationale? How does it help the project manager? Implementing a process, implementing a tool, how does that help you as a project manager? So I think comprehension is more important as compared to memorization. Yeah. Um, Relate what you're studying to the actual work experience that you're holding, and of course, attempt case studies. So that is going to help you a lot, because that's where you solve project management case scenarios. And of course, that helps you adopt that critical thinking, which is very much needed in the PMP examination. About the mock exams and exam pressure handling, well, I think nothing better than taking or practicing mock tests, right? Because mock tests are going to mimic the real exam environment. And of course, it will allow you to understand the answers that you did not attempt, or you attempted and answered incorrectly. Yeah. So helping you understand the gap, identifying the gap. And of course, that becomes part of the routine when it comes to doing a revision. So it helps you identify your weaknesses so that you can bridge the gap. It also trains your mind, in again, it sharpens your analytical abilities. So trains your brain in a way that you can actually sit in the PMP exam, that those 230 minutes that you're going to spend in there answering 180 questions. So it kind of improves your mental stamina as well, and that's very critical. Likewise, mock tests are also going to help you master the complex question formats that you may come across in the actual PMP examination, like drag and drops. They got multiple responses, situational type questions, right? And of course, that is also where you kind of discover different ways in which you apply your critical thinking skills. Like one of the most common ways is elimination technique. Like learn to eliminate wrong answers or irrelevant answers. So narrow down your choices logically, and that is definitely one of the best ways of taking mock exams. Also, one of the tips that I often tell our PMP aspirants is where you're attempting the mock tests or whenever you're actually sitting for the actual examination, always focus your attention on the last line, right? What is it that the project, the PMP question is asking? What is the scenario asking? Sometimes there could be too much wording around the scenario, and many a times that's irrelevant. It's meant to confuse the participants. But when you look into the last part of the question, that kind of details out and asks you exactly what you need to choose. Yeah. So again, those are different ways through which things can work out pretty easily for you. And then, of course, streamline your application process. You use your PMI handbook, or you can use PMI templates. I mean, follow the guidelines to document your experience properly, get information about, how best the application or the work experience can be articulated in the in the application. And again, that's really very simple. I mean, a lot of people feel stressed about it, but with proper guidance, proper help, proper information, that should not be a challenge at all. Yeah. That is where you can, of course, connect with your colleagues, connect with your fellow batchmates, and of course, it helps you grow your network and share that information. Yeah. Then, of course, managing exam anxiety, well, that's where I think resiliency or mental strength comes into play. So practice your relaxation techniques, um, deep breathing, visualizing. These are different ways in which you can kind of bring down your stress levels, right? Stay confident sometimes, and it's okay if you're not able to kind of answer all the questions correctly in the first attempt. It takes time to build expertise. It takes time to get aligned with the best practices. It takes effort, right? But stay confident. Don't lose your confidence. Trust your preparation, right? Trust your studies, trust your notes, and focus on improvement areas when you're practicing mock tests. And of course, take mock tests in a quieter place, with a timer in place. So I think that kind of makes a lot of difference. Now, in terms of the cost of certification, well, you can, of course, I would recommend you plan out your budget, you know spread the cost over a few months, like training books, exam fees, etc. You can use PMI membership discounts, yeah, or you can sometimes explore employer sponsorship if that's available. Yeah, so these are like some of the things that could possibly help you there. Similarly, maintaining your study plan in a very consistent manner, that's very, very important. So, use a tracker, use a study plan. In fact, upgrad has great infrastructure around it. So some a way in which you can track your progress around what you're learning and how you're learning, and of course getting access to the premium material. So that's definitely an added advantage. And of course, reward yourself. You deserve a reward by putting in uh, all that effort. Yeah. So small rewards for completing topics, it'll help you stay motivated. Yeah. And of course, make a wise choice, do some research, select the best study material, like study quality resources. PMBOK, Project Management Body of Knowledge, that guide plays a crucial role over there, right? There could be other resources, um, you know resources from Rita Mulaki, Andrew Ramdayal, or Joseph Phillips. Again, these are like different courses available out there, or different books or literature available out there. I mean, of course, most of that is paid, but then PMBOK could be a great way of going about it. Yeah. Use reliable mock tests again. Be very careful in terms of what mock test, what is the source of the mock test. I mean, there could be a lot of free resources available online, but then, quality is always a question. So just choose and select things from a reliable source. I think that's the best way. And don't overstress or overload yourself. Avoid too much resourcing, too many books, avoid all of that. Select and focus on one area depending on what your trainer has suggested you. I think that's the best way of going about it. People who refer to multiple books they always tend to get confused. And, it's like you might have heard the term information paralysis, right? When you have too much information on your platter, well, it kind of paralyzes you to take a decision. So avoid getting into that. Talk to your trainer about it. And they should be the best person to recommend uh, the, the, uh, the, the material that you need to refer to. Yeah. And practice what you are learning, what you're learning on the training, what you're learning offline, what you're learning through different kind of resources, what you're learning from the PMBOK. That should be applied in real world, and that is the only way to bridge the gap. So either mock tests, or in fact I would say mock test plus practical application of stuff, that kind of takes care of that barrier. Yeah. So follow process oriented thinking. Use PMI approved terminology whenever you're thinking about the examination, whenever you're taking the mock tests, whenever you are attending a class. So these are different ways. I mean, they're much more, but then these are some of the primary ones that you can possibly explore as strategies to effectively overcome the barrier and challenges associated with, uh, the PMP preparation. Now, beyond that, I think the core idea behind holding this webinar was to kind of put together some material in a logical way in which you can prepare yourself for PMP in about 5 weeks. Yeah. So this is a study plan that we typically follow. This is this kind of complements the training that you undergo, right? So a study plan that kind of maintains efficiency while ensuring that your entire syllabus or examination content outline published by PMI is completed. Yeah, it's completely covered. So here we are assuming approximately 10 to 15 hours per week. Yeah, and I think for most people that should not be a challenge. Like I said, it's all about intention and of course the willingness. So make that change. I mean, of course, you need to follow a disciplined way of dedicating yourself to learning stuff about project management. So again, about 10-15 hours per week. And the method of preparing should be about reading, reviewing it, practicing it through mock tests, and then, of course, identifying the gaps to revise. Yeah. And some of the key resources that I've listed over here could be, again, guide to the project management body of knowledge. It could be Agile practice guide, Vita Mulaki PMP exam prep, or any online simulators, right? Or your study plan on Prism. So that is again provided by upGrad. So starting with week 1, it's all about foundations and people domain. That's what we are going to focus upon. So day 1 and 2, it's all about introduction to PMP and the examination format. Understand your PMI terminologies and processes, the frameworks. Set up your PMI application if that's something that you haven't done before you during the training. Yeah. Then from day 3 and 4, again, people domain. That's going to be one of the areas that you're going to focus upon in those 2 days. This is where you need to develop uh, your understanding about team management, conflict management, leading and supporting team performance, etc. And then, of course, refer to your PMBOK guide and your Agile practice guide on team leadership. Then day 5 and 6, again, refer to people domain. So this is where you learn about the stakeholder engagement, spend some time understanding about communication management, solve about 50-70 practice questions during that duration. So that is going to ensure that you are one, learning stuff, you're revising things, and you're practicing it at the same time. And if you identify gaps, do revisions. Yeah. Then, of course, day 7 is going to be about mock tests. So, about 50 to 100 questions. Do that and, of course, review it, identify the weak areas, and then refine your understanding by referring to your literature. Week 2, we'll start with now process domain. So, that holds about 50% of the weightage in the examination. And that's where you're going to talk about or look into the project framework and process group for the first couple of days. This will help you understand your predictive, agile, and hybrid approaches. What's the difference between the three? And of course, this is also where you're going to learn more about the processes. So study about integration, study about scope, schedule management, and other knowledge areas. Uh, Day 10th and 11th. Sorry. Now that's where you should focus your attention to cost management and quality management. Like you could spend time in learning earned value management and different type of quality control tools that are used. Yeah. Day 12th and 13th, you again practice questions. About 80 to 100 questions is what we recommend, or even more if that's possible. Again, helps you revise the key concepts and refine those weak areas. And continuing with the final day, that is day 14, try out and take the mock tests, right? So try out 2 mock tests, about 100 to 150 questions each. Analyze where the gaps came in, and then work on revising and building those gaps. Again, meanwhile, reach out to your trainer, reach out to your counselors, reach out to your fellow batchmates, reach out to your colleagues, seek guidance wherever needed. Week 3, again, we are looking at the process domain. This is where we begin day 15, and day 16, looking at risk management and procurement management. Again, study risk identification, risk response strategies, and in procurement, learn about different type of contracts. Yeah. Day 17th and 18th, resources and communications management. Learn team performance assessment and how to effectively engage with stakeholders. What are the strategies that are presented in stakeholder management? Yeah. Day 19th and 20th, again, practice mock tests. So I hope everybody is getting the theme here. Learn, revise, practice. Yeah. Practice, identify whether what the knowledge that you're acquiring, are you able to implement that in real life, align with the best practices? So these are very important tips. Focus on tricky scenarios. Yeah. So day 21, again, take a full length mock test, review it. Yeah. Week 4th, as you jump into there, well, learn about business environment and master your agile skills. So 22 and day 23, focus on business environment and compliance, right? Study about governance, study about business strategies, study about impact analysis. Yeah. Day 24, 25, deep dive into agile and hybrid models, learn agile roles, different roles like scrum masters, product owners, etc. So day 26, 27, practice agile and business domain questions. And again, we're looking at 100 plus questions over here. Day 28, again, mock tests, but take a full length mock test this time, mixed up with scenarios. Again, 180 questions, review those answers, identify where the gaps are coming from, and then you step into the final week of your preparation. That is week 5. So this is where you're looking at exam readiness. You're looking at final review, right? 29th and day 30th, you're going to look into revising your weak areas and inputs, tools, techniques, and outputs. Use flashcards, use memory aids, use key formulas, right? 31 and 32, go into mock tests again. Yeah. So simulate real PMP exam conditions. Day 33, 34, again, review the past mistakes. Look into the PMI mindset. And as you arrive into day 35, relax and get ready for the exam day. So by now, you've done a fantastic job, spent enough time or more than sufficient time into preparing yourself and training your mind, right? Of course, it's time for you to relax, just sit back, relax, enjoy your day. And then the following day, get onto your PMP exam and earn that badge. right? So these are some of the most important ways that are kind of summed up in these 5 weeks of preparation that could come in pretty handy for you as it comes to preparing yourself for the PMP examination. Now, of course, I'm not here to promise you that it's going to be a cakewalk. It's never been a cakewalk. It's never going to be. But with the right focus, with the right guidance, with the right infrastructure, if I may call it that, with the right resources in place, you should be in a great shape to prepare yourself and take the PMP examination in 5 weeks, right? So I think those are some of the areas that I wanted to kind of highlight um, in today's session. So I hope you guys may have made notes, and I hope that this brought in a little clarity for you as you move forward for taking the PMP examination.